So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, depending on where you are. I'm glad that you are able to join again the Life, Love, and Marriage talk series organized by this Marriage Our Path to Holiness community. I'm your host today. My name is Stefan Handoyo. I am connecting through this room from Jakarta. I'm based in Jakarta, Indonesia. This is the fourth talks series that we have. Uh, the last month, we have a topic on IVF and infertility by Dr. Jogi Fernandez from Nairobi, Kenya. And today, we are very, very fortunate to have a couple who are going to share with us their parenting experience and also their thought on this very interesting topic called the gift of life. So we have Miss Monica Lim and Mr. Mark Lim.
Hi.
So Miss Monica and Mr. Mark Lim live in Singapore. I share with you the brief biodata in the WhatsApp group, but I would like to read again briefly. They have married for 37 years, so 13 years to go to the golden anniversary. It's quite fast approaching. And they have children ranging from 18 to 35 years old. So most of them are uh, youth, no? And millennial and also Gen Z. I think these are the challenging period for this generation. So they have been involved in the marriage and family life services in 1993, so about more than 20 years ago. So from the secular organization as well as our diocesan organization, they are both Catholic. They also co-founded two non-for-profit schools. One is for developmental program for children and youth. So both of them are banker, I understand. So they started their career in the banking sector. So it's very interesting. A banker and then now shift to the topic, which is very important about the parenthood. So as you probably know, this talk series revolve around three main topics, which is on life, love, and marriage. These are the three topics that are, for all of us, are the topics that we face in everyday life. We've seen it in our own family life, social life. We read it in the newspaper, in the media. We saw it in any television programs. A lot of misunderstanding about three topics that we have here. Uh, how do we respect life, human life? How do we exercise the true love? And most importantly, how do we keep the unity of the sacredness of marriage? So for this, we created this program for all of us from all different walk of life, from all different backgrounds and religions to understand about these universal values of life, love, and marriage. So as usual, the talk will take around maybe 45 to maximum an hour. And then today we'll let Miss Monica and Mr. Mark to finish their talk until the end, and then we open for Q&A for probably 15 to 20 minutes before we end. This program will be recorded, so for the benefit of those who cannot participate but show strong interest, they can still follow this recorded session through YouTube that we will post through YouTube. All right, so with not further ado, Ms. Monica and Mr. Mark, the space is yours.
Thank you, Stefan.
Thank you, Stefan. Okay. Hello, everyone. Just to just clarify, and we were bankers only for 2 years, right? We were bankers when we started our career, and we stayed in there long enough to meet each other, and to subsequently marry, and then after that we left it all behind. Yeah. So I mean, we left banking long ago. Monica has since gone into education, and I went into IT. Yeah. Anyway, so this being the fourth session, Now, we've had great teachers in the first 3 sessions of this wonderful series, which Stefan has started. We have Father Connor, we have Chiro, and Dr. Joki. Yeah. So for us today, we'll be talking about children, having children and raising them. Right now, neither of us, just again to clarify, neither of us are psychologists or academics. So we won't be doing any teaching right now, but at least not overtly. Right now, instead we'll be sharing our story. What has worked for us and our family, and what we've seen working for other families, especially the families that we've journeyed with. So what you're going to hear today will be more descriptive and not so much prescriptive. Right now, and so hopefully you'll be able to make sense and take whatever you need from it. Right now, most of what you hear will be common sense, and perhaps some of it may not be so common sense, But I guess it's good that some of us, that we get some reminding, of. Now, so this talk that is called the Gift of Life, as you can see on the screen right now. It'll be loosely divided into 3 parts. The first is receiving the gifts, which is our story, followed by multiplying the gifts, which is raising them right and raising the children right, and concluding with being life-giving, which is how we can breed a culture of life wherever we are. Right. So let's begin.
Now, when we were preparing, as you can see, we were very young then. When we were preparing to get married 37 years ago, one of the questions the marriage preparation course asked us was, how many children did we want to have? So Mark very gung-ho-ly said 4 children, and I said I only wanted 2. He was the youngest of 6, and I was an only child. He was hoping to have a large family. I could not imagine having enough love for more than 2. I looked at it as love divided and not love multiplied with each child, right?
When starting a family, often familiar and well-intentioned advice is to be responsible, right? There's to weigh generosity with responsibility. Yeah. If I may, I would like to turn it the other way around. There's to weigh responsibility with generosity. What do I mean? It means our need to be responsible must be dosed very liberally with generosity. Generosity to God, generous to His commands to go forth and multiply. Right? Yes, we have to make sure we prepare ourselves, like mentally, emotionally, and especially financially, to be ready to support the children that God may give us. But they don't need to have the best of everything all the time. When we were first married, our main source of reliable income was from Monica's job. As not only was the income from my job inconsistent, my job wasn't going very well at the time as well. However, we were living with my mom, and had no other financial obligations, So anyway, despite this less than ideal financial situation, it still meant that we had no grave reasons not to have children. So being open to God's blessings and His providence meant that we were neither consciously trying to get pregnant nor avoid pregnancy.
So barely a year into our marriage, I was delighted and excited to discover I was pregnant with our first child. So you can see here that little baby bump. I love the idea of being a mom, and I wanted a girl that I could dress up. My mom was, of course, thrilled because she was impatient to be a grandma since I was her one and only, right? And she even went all the way, if you know the map of Singapore and Malaysia, she went all the way from Singapore to Penang in Malaysia to ask St. Anne for her intercession for a grandchild.
Without our knowledge.
And Mark's mom loved children, so she was delighted to be grandma again because she already had several, right, from Mark's siblings. And this first pregnancy turned out to be a twin pregnancy. So our excitement, and especially Mark's mom's excitement, grew even more, as she had always hoped for twins. And our excitement, though, soon turned to worry because I started to bleed early in the pregnancy to the point where I needed complete bed rest, hormone jabs, and tablets for the whole first trimester, as it was a threatened miscarriage. And then, towards the end of the first trimester, one of the twins stopped growing. It's called the vanishing twin syndrome. Thankfully, The other twin was strong and continued to grow and was born healthy on 20th April 1989. Here she is. We named her Victoria Ann because we wanted to honor St. Anne, whose intercession my mom had sought. And she became the life and the joy of our large household as we lived with Mark's mom, his sister, his brother, and their family. But being a first-time mom, I was determined to be the perfect mom with the perfect baby. And so I was so meticulous to the point of exhausting myself with her care. I breastfed her totally. I insisted on using only cloth diapers, no disposables, no nappy wipes, cotton wool only with warm water to clean her whenever she soiled herself, right? So every night, I barely slept because she'd wait for her night feed and then needed diapers changed. And by the time I fed, I cleaned, and I changed her, it was time for the next round of feeding, cleaning, and changing, almost every 2 hours. And to top it all, Vicky, as we called her, was more than a handful and kept us all on our toes with her counter will, her curiosity, her adventurous spirit, and incredible physical prowess from young. And basically, she was just all over the place, and oftentimes too much for a pair of young, inexperienced, first-time parents to handle. So Mark, from having hoped for 4 children, soon declared that one was enough. No more children.
So as you can see from the picture, Monica was the one who's lost sleep, right now. As you can see, I was the one who lost weight. Anyway, for us, conceiving was never the problem, right? So despite my declaration of stopping at one, Monica did get pregnant again. But sadly, lost the baby within the first trimester because again, she started bleeding and quickly miscarried. She was heartbroken, right? But happily, not long after, she conceived again. So we were excited and hopeful. But she started bleeding again. And once again, we lost our baby within the first trimester. We started to realize how difficult it was to carry the pregnancy to full term, despite being able to conceive quite easily. I mean, truly, life is only in God's hands, and there was nothing we could do to help our babies be born despite all our best efforts.
I was blessed, though, that I did not have morning or any time of day sickness other than needing the complete bed rest, the painful jabs for every pregnancy. But after 4.5 years and 2 miscarriages, thankfully, our second child, a boy, was born. And before we knew it, our number 3, a girl, arrived just 14 months later. In between all our successful pregnancies, I had in total, including 2 vanishing twins, 9 miscarriages. You very quickly realize, as Mark said, right, just how precious life is, each and every baby. So we decided that we would be completely open to life and accept however many babies God wanted to give us. When I was expecting our youngest child, I was praying before the tabernacle in church one day for a healthy pregnancy and a healthy child. Isn't that what every mom prays for? And I distinctly heard interiorly, this is a special child. And my immediate reaction was, no, I don't want. I feared the weight of the responsibility for a child with special needs and the difficulties involved due to all my perceptions about children with special needs that I was exposed to when I was growing up, because I helped my mom at the Spastic Children's Association, as such children were called in those days, right? But I realized that this is my will not to want and not his. So I immediately repented and I begged our Lord's forgiveness, and I quickly said, whatever you want, Lord, I will accept. Whatever you want. And I didn't tell Mark about this encounter of mine with the Lord.
Monica was when Monica was pregnant with our eldest child, I was 45, and she was 43. Now, conceiving at this age carries with it an increased risk of having a child with special needs. But as Catholics, we have the great fortune that our church has such clear teachings on when life begins, which is conception, and on the sanctity of each life. So for us, amniocentesis was something we didn't need to consider. Why? because the procedure carried with it, although very, very low, inherent risks of uterus infection and miscarriage. And for us, that was an unnecessary risk, since the result would have absolutely no bearing on our decision regarding the pregnancy. And abortion was completely out of the question. And so, lusty, bouncy, beautiful Marie was born on 29th of April 2006. And as promised by our Lord, Marie was absolutely gifted. Gifted with Down syndrome, severe hearing loss, and as we discovered along the way, other things like hyperthyroidism and autoimmune issues.
I cried for 3 days after Marie's birth whenever I was alone. Not because I didn't love her. I was just worried for her, right? What's going to happen to her in the future? Who was going to look after her when we are gone? How will she fit in this world? How will her siblings respond to her? What will be her self-worth? And worry was not the only thing I felt after Marie's birth. I felt inadequate, unprepared, and wistful. When a child comes up in a completely different package, it's a feeling of a loss, right? A loss of your dream, of what you had hoped for. Or as another mom with a special child said, it's like finding yourself in Holland when you were hoping to go to Italy.
Shortly after we had Marie, we read an article where families who had kids like her described how much their special child had brought the family together and how much joy they had, and that it was the best thing that ever happened to them. We were incredulous and really thought that these must be parents who were trying to console themselves and justify their situation. Because at that time, just a few months old, Marie was just a floppy little baby with weak muscle tone, and various medical issues. And we were mentally preparing to heroically, suffer with her. And natural joy was the last thing we would associate with the situation. Yeah. But you know what? It was all true. She had her challenges, yes, but her challenges became our triumphs. Her triumphs were impetus for our family. Her difficulties, rather, were impetus for our family to rise above them. Her siblings and our relatives and friends rallied round, and with her natural innocent charm, brought our family so much closer together, with Marie at the center of it all.
Over time, we discovered just how amazing Marie is in her own right. She showed us how determined and strong she is and her ability to persevere until she achieves her desires. And riding was one such example. She started out screaming and crying near horses because she couldn't perceive them, even though she dearly wanted to touch and to ride them. And with a wonderful team that believed in her, she soon learned to ride to conquer her fear. Now, of course, she also cycles and she rock climbs amongst other sports. And she also has a great love for painting and floral arrangement and has strong problem-solving skills and awareness of the needs of others.
In the mornings, I usually send Monica to work first, then come home to get Marie. Yeah. So one morning, I came home and I found a hot cup of tea waiting for me. I asked around and it turned out that Marie had made it for me. She had noticed that I usually had tea with my breakfast, and so had one made ready for me when I got home. Marie is indeed that special child that God promised. She simply learns differently, and I began to embrace that God made Marie exactly who she is, so that we could learn how to love her and work with her in the way that He intended. All children bring joy to the family. Each child is unique and special in their own way. They will have a place in the world. So while we have had 9 miscarriages, we are also blessed with 7 children. We are so thankful for our faith, which gave us the grace to keep Marie and be life-giving to her. Indeed, we are the biggest winners of all, as her siblings will tell you. Marie has made a huge impact on our lives for the better. And we really cannot imagine life without her. She's an angel. She's our angel.
Now, of course, we have a mission and to share our experience and help parents with these wonderful children through Rosebrook. It's a haven where it's inclusive, where we have children who are typically developing as well as those who have special needs all together. And they range in age from 1.5 months all the way to 18, no, yes, 1.5 years all the way to 18 years old, where every child, right, is believed in and grows up in an inclusive community and where parents can be supported and enriched in their understanding of their children. So in a world where we look for perfection, it seems so easy, right, to discard what is seemingly different. But of course, children like Marie, they challenge us to look again, to find fortitude, to find courage, to find determination, with a lot of endurance and stamina to accept the true gift and blessing that God has given.
I would just like to add that, like Monica, I used to grieve and worry about Marie's condition as well. I mean, her future, what sort of quality of life she would have, her potential sufferings. Until a dear priest friend, over dinner at home, observed to me, he leaned over and he told me, they are the ones who go to heaven first. And suddenly that put everything into perspective for me. Yeah? I mean, what's our ultimate goal in this life? To get to heaven, right? Not academic success, not trophies or millions or billions in assets. And so if they are the ones to go there first, then who is the really lucky one?
So you see, Mark and I, of course, have been very fruitful. But being fruitful is not just about having children, because the job doesn't stop there, right? That's the easiest part of being a parent. But trying to raise them right is really the crux of being a parent. And believe it or not, all of us parents are going to become saints through it. Because it's not just about feeding, bathing, clothing, educating, and playing with them or going on holidays with them. While it's important, of course, even more pivotal is raising them for eternal happiness after life on this earth and to raise them as honorable, virtuous human beings, right? Regardless. Um, I mean, all this requires intentional, purposeful parenting. So some of you might know James Stenson. He's a wonderful educator with decades of experience whom we love. And we're so blessed to have come to Singapore several times. So James, with his wisdom and level-headedness and graciousness, said that parents will always have to parent first by example and then by directed practice, and in the last place through words in this order. But you know what happens, right, for us parents? I'm sure you'll agree that oftentimes we do the reverse. We nag and we nag and we explain and we explain and we negotiate and we negotiate, but we sometimes forget to set the quiet example and tone and keep giving consistent opportunities for our children to practice what we would love them to live, like simple things of every day, picking up their clothes, helping with the chores, speaking graciously instead of demandingly, right? And just fulfilling what they need to joyfully. So some pillars, of course, in addition to James' wise words that we leaned on to help raise our children is to have a strong marriage. We cannot emphasize this enough. You know, we have to keep working at it. 37 years and we still have to keep working at it because it is a firm foundation upon which family life and secure children are built, right? There's so much research out there that already shows that. So please don't take your marriage for granted. Chiro gave a wonderful sharing in the second session, right? That Stefan held in this series, and I hope you all get to watch that YouTube, which Stefan has posted. So all we want to say for today is that the more years you are married, beware too of the pride that grows as we age. Nobody is immune to this because we get more confident of who we are and what we want, plus we have higher and higher expectations of our spouse, simply because we expect them to know what we mean and what we need, just because they've been married to us for so many years already. True? So the older we get, the longer we are married, the harder we need to keep working at our marriage to be lively and life-giving. Many programs like Worldwide Marriage Encounter, and Stefan was just sharing with me about the marriage course, This couple empowerment program in Singapore, very powerful. That was influenced very much by Father Connor Donnelly himself. And of course, in family enrichment, which Mark and I are a part of, we have Songs of Life where we get couples to share, their marriage journey, the ups and the downs, the realities. And basically try to hang around good company, right? Of other couples who want to build strong marriages and strong families, like all of you here. And also personal growth, of course. And I'm sure many of you are working on this. Spiritually, we need to draw so much strength, right? For all the curved balls that life is going to throw at us. And it helps us to remember to give thanks, to be joyful always. For us, it was our vocation to Opus Dei. I'm sure for each of you, you will find something that really can anchor you spiritually so that you can give your best for your spouse, for your children, for others. And dads matter. Dads really matter. And we were, again, very blessed to get to know another very wise and wonderful gentleman, Mike Hall, who shared with us. He runs Strong Fathers, Strong Families, and he gave us clarity, as to the role of mom and dad. Something very important. Sometimes we forget. We moms, we think, why can't, our husbands do this, if we can, and why can't they? Or like, might be vice versa as well. But no, we have specific roles. We are complementary. So I'm going to show you a short video by Mike, and please enjoy, and it explains what I'm trying to say. Oh, sorry, wrong. Here we go.
There is a great book by Kyle Pruitt called Father Need. And in that, he has a Native American proverb that says, mothers bring children into the world. Fathers take children to the mountain to show them the world they will inherit. There's a great scene in Lion King where he sets his son down and says, you see all this area. It's what we as dads do, but we do it from the outside. We don't have the same relationship that mom does. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it doesn't make one better, it doesn't make one worse. But we have to understand how that goes. So mom has this gravitational pull, right? Like, be careful, don't watch out, and we call it kind of mom's aversion to risk. And dad's job is to work with it, but also against it. So what happens is dad says, or the kid says, I want to go ride my bike or my tricycle. Dad says, well, mom says you can ride on the patio, put on your helmet, put on your bubble wrap, and you can go outside. Dad says, well, mom's here, so wear your helmet, but don't worry about the bubble wrap, and we're going to go out on the sidewalk. We're going to go down to the park. And mom's holding, be careful, be careful, be careful. And that's what moms do, and that's a good thing. Thank goodness moms do that, right? But dad does it a little differently. And so dad says, we're going to ride your tricycle, and we're going to go down here. And then after we ride the tricycle for a while, we're going to get a bicycle, and it's going to have training wheels on it. And so we're going to move over to this part. And then we're going to take the training wheels off, and we're going to have a bicycle that maybe you can ride down the street, you can ride to the park by yourself, you can ride your bike to school, you can do these different things, right? And then there's a time, and I had it with both my sons, and it's a really interesting time to say the least, that all of a sudden you're teaching your child to drive, and they're driving away, right? So I remember the day that both my sons drove themselves to school for the very first day. It was terrifying. It was a moment of pride. And it was just that moment of, wow, things are about to change with this child. And then I remember the day that I went to college and left my parents behind in the driveway. I remember both my children driving themselves to college. I remember my son last year driving away with his new wife. Right? Things are going to change. And so the bubble just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And you notice mom's in the center. She's always there for them. If they fall on the bicycle, dad's going to be there and say, you're fine, get up. But if they need it, they're going to run home to mom. And they're going to say, I fell on my bicycle. So, what did dad say? He said, rub dirt on it. He said, I'm okay. Then you get the dirty look because your mom's like, he's not okay. Well, he might be. He's probably going to live. It's going to be okay. So what does that look like from there? So now you have this opportunity where the child continues to grow. And yes, they can go back to mom, but what is dad's job? And so even when that child launches, right, dad is there.
Yeah, that for us really helped to put a lot of things in perspective, And the other thing is to know our child, right? That is another thing that's very important. And knowing our child is in all of his or her dimensions, right? Not just whether they can read early or are great at math or sports, but that we know them, in all their sensory profile. If you need to know more about that, you can let me know, and I'm happy to share. But it's a whole seminar of its own. Their developmental milestones, their emotional, their social perceiving, know them spiritually as well, right? And they come to realize their full potential in the very package they've come in. And one thing we learned is that really the sensory profile, and that's why I mentioned it, is the window to understanding who they are, how they learn, and how to help them climb their developmental ladder. And also knowing the ages and stages of development is key so that we won't panic or feel like we need psychiatric help to manage our children or need psychiatric help for our children. And that brings us to the next pillar, boundaries. In all our work, with children, we find that this is the one that many parents struggle with, right? It is really something which we learned, for example, the developmental milestones helps us also to understand about boundaries and what is appropriate, what is not appropriate, when to expect what. So a dear friend, a very dear friend and professional, Dana K. Bonahum, she was pivotal in our journey, and she shared with us, right, that at 3, it's all about boundary pushing. And so you have to get it right. You try. We have to try, right, as parents, because if not, 6 revisits 3. That's how nature has made us by development. So we didn't get this boundary setting right with our children at 6. It comes back with a vengeance at 3, sorry. It comes back with a vengeance at 6. And if you don't get it right at 6, it revisits at 12 and then at 24, and you can see how ugly it can become as the child grows bigger and stronger. Okay. So yeah, so this is something which we know that is so important, and we encourage you to learn and to understand about boundaries, right? How to set the boundaries, how to consistently hold that line, and when it's necessary to be flexible, and what are appropriate cognitively connected consequences. Like often, what we do as parents is no TV. They've broken something and we tell them no TV time for you. But what has that got to do with the thing they've broken, unless it was the TV they broke? And this again is another whole seminar of its own, boundaries and boundary setting, right? But if we strive to set and to hold the boundaries as best as we can, it really, I guarantee you, will reap great rewards for us and our children for life. We don't have to be regimental, but we certainly need to hold steady. They will grow up feeling more secure and stable. And Mark has a nice anecdote to share.
Yeah, so this is an analogy which actually I heard from Father Connor in one of the retreats he gave when he was still in Singapore. And he says, imagine you bring up a group of children up to a hilltop cliff right now. Right on the top, there's a massive drop, which will result in certain death if you fall through. Yeah. Now, and then you ask them to play football. Except you ask them to play at night with no lights. What do you think is going to happen, right? They may play, right? But they'll play in very small movements. They'll stay very close to the center, and they'll play with great insecurity and never knowing if what the next step they take may plunge them off the edge.
And they won't have fun.
And they won't have fun. Right? But then you build, the next thing you do is you build a very strong boundary fence all around, right? And then a fence that they cannot break through no matter how. No? And then you ask them to play. And they will then play with all abandon because they know that no matter what they do, the moment they hit the fence, they'll just bounce back, and their life will not be in danger.
So they'll have a lot more fun and freedom, and they can, the same with life. If we set the boundaries straight and strong, consistently, then our children will also be able to make it life with a lot more emotional security, feeling safe, feeling confident, right? So I'd like to share a short clip, again, on boundary setting, and it's said nicely, and you don't just hear our voices, right?
Sinbad, I think he was on Politically Incorrect with Bill Maher back in the day when they were talking about whether parents should spank their kids or not. And Sinbad just made this point. He was like, I was more afraid of my dad than I was of my friends. So I didn't do any of the shit my buddies did that got them in trouble because I knew that if I did, my dad was going to beat my ass. And I think we live in this snowflake world right now where it's like, your kids shouldn't be afraid of you. They should have no fear of you. You should be their best friend. I'm like, that advice. You should love your kids and they should know you love them, but they should also have a certain healthy sense of fear of you, that if they f up and they know they did bad, there's going to be consequences. We as humans thrive in environments where there's consequences and accountability. Every single one of us. So you can't exempt kids from that. Just be like, let me just be sweet and talk to them. Let me just like hold space with them. Let me make sure that they never feel uncomfortable and they just feel really safe here. You're setting your kids up for failure. That's not how the world's going to treat them. In some sense, as a parent, your job, in a really literal sense, is to bridge the parenting that's going on, giving a kid safe space when they're a baby, and then bridging that as they get older so that they're ready and prepared to go into the real world equipped to fight and equipped to kick ass. And they know what consequences are. They know what accountability is. They know what pain is. And now they're going to be light years ahead of these kids that have been gentle parented, dude. Light years ahead of them.
Yeah, so I hope we can take some confidence in our grace of office as parents, right? That we have that God-given right to have that parental authority, and it's important. And as mom and dad to discuss, yeah, what that parenting style is that you can agree on, that will build your children into strong, resilient, sensible young men and women, right? Because to become an adult, actually we're raising adults, we're not raising children, right? We're trying to raise them to become adults, and it begins already from very young. And the definition of an adult is one who not only takes good care of themselves, but can and will take good care of others and lead them towards good. So that's something we have to hold in mind when you're trying to decide on what boundaries you're going to set, right? And so here's another pillar that, that's it.
Another pillar we've built our family on is raising children in truth. Right? And we raise our kids to seek truth and to love truth. You know? And it began teaching them to distinguish between right and wrong. Right is always right, even if there is no one there to praise you, you know. And wrong is always wrong, even if there's no one there to see you doing it, you know. Now, does that mean that will always do right and never do any of these things that are wrong? I mean, of course not, right? You know, they are like us, only human, and because of our wounded nature, there will always be temptation, and sometimes we fall, or maybe often we fall. But we at least have a clear idea of right and wrong, right? Then at least part of the battle is won, right now. So at least we continue to struggle towards right, but we cannot even distinguish between right and wrong. Then the battle is already lost, because yielding to temptation is always so much easier. But why is this important? Right? Because God is truth. Because truth will make us free. You know, it liberates us. It leads us to inner peace, and we will sleep with a clear conscience each night now. And as they say, the best pillow to lie on is a clear conscience. So us, you know, as the caretakers of our children's souls on this earth, right now, we need to teach them to be able to discern truths from untruths. You know? And it gives them the peace, as we're all born with the desire of truth and good. And if we don't help them to gain this knowledge, you know, then they will end up seeking it in alternative solutions, which cannot give them real peace and lasting happiness. You know? I mean, of course, we can't lay it all on them all at once, right? When they were very young, right, distinguishing between truths and untruths could be as simple as, if you said you brush your teeth, and you really did, well, that's truth, right? But if you said you didn't, you said you did, but you didn't, well, that's an untruth. Yeah. Right? But as they get older, more complex situations will arise. Things like premarital sex, drug abuse, abortion, gender ideology. It's some years back now, but do you recall the periods of lockdown during COVID? Yeah, I'm sure it was a time of difficulty for all of us. But in some ways, it turned out to be a great blessing for our family, because despite not being able to go out, with our large family, we had lots of fun at home. But more importantly, it helped us start a new habit of discussions on matters of faith and life during family time. And this was very helpful for all of us to help each other grow and learn in our discernment of truth from untruth on many issues. It was a great opportunity for us, to hear from our kids, their thoughts, the kind of questions and views their friends had, And overall, it was a wonderful opportunity for us to mold, shape, and provoke their views on important matters of faith, relationships, family. And so there are many wild ideas out there these days. So this has actually become a critical survival skill.
So, of course, there are also many good resources that you can avail of and that we did, So, like these books, Made This Way, Male, Female, Other, they're just solid about moral issues, right? And truths and untruths that we need to know so that we can have the conversations and we will have the language to also be very understanding of anyone and everyone and be able to also lead them to truth, right? Um, and of course, here some books by Meg Meeker, by Jason Evett, as well as James Denton, as I said, Successful Fathers and all these books. I'm sure some of you have read all and more, but we thought we'd just share a few, okay? Well, the other thing is, of course, to look for the good and the safe company of other like-minded families, right? And to help to contribute towards building other families, like what we're all trying to do now, to learn, to gain knowledge so we likewise can share with others, and make this world really a better place for our children to grow up in, right? And to raise their own children. And James Denson reminded us, one thing very important, and I wanted to share today, is that parents need to have a vision for each of their children. We need to be parent leaders with a vision. And if we've no clue what that might look like, one very easy way is to think of what kind of son-in-law and daughter-in-law that you might like to have. And then raise your child and your children to be like that. And of course, to raise them to be as independent as possible, right? And these are our son and daughter-in-law, and our daughter and her husband, who got married a few years now. So yeah, from very young, we wanted them to understand the value of hard work, the value of being a part of contributing towards the family, that they are also consumers in the family, and so they have a responsibility. They have to be accountable, right, to make that difference. So house chores are great. Why not? They saw us working hard to provide for them, so they too, right, can learn how to be able to already begin by taking care of things in the home. And then they won't be afraid of having their own home. They won't be afraid of getting married. And this is the current narrative we're hearing from a lot of young ones, young adults, because we work with so many, right? I and Rosebrook have so many young interns, more than 100 already, who come through my doors. And many of them, they score A's, straight A's, brilliant. But on matters of life, on matters of, knowing and discerning who they are, where they're going to, why were they created, not so clear, right? But these are actually the very important questions that parents, we need to guide our children towards. And it begins, like I said, from very young. And yeah, with our kids, like I said, independent. We're big family. People always ask us, how do you manage financially? Well, of course, we live simply. Of course, we had to be very humble and accept whatever help from the extended family. But we also remembered to tell our children that they needed to work hard and to, we told them from very young that if they wanted to go overseas to study, they needed to actually earn the money first or they can get a scholarship, either one, because we were a large family and there was no way we could pay for that. And they actually took it to heart, and they did. They have been working very hard, and it's exactly what they've done. They've either gotten scholarships or they work first and save up and then they study. And even for their weddings, sometimes parents feel so afraid of having many children. We think we have to provide them with everything, their education, their house, their wedding, their everything. But no, I think if they understand their part, they understand reality, it's good for them to also, at least for us, yeah, that's how we felt, that they take responsibility. So our children saved up and they paid for their own weddings, they paid for their own homes, right? They lived and spent within what they could and what they earned. And yeah, so we thought we would love to share all this, and really, children are just beautiful and amazing. And Mark is just going to share about going beyond the family.
Yeah, and being life-giving and how we can build a culture of life. Yeah. So why all this is important, right? It was important to us now, because in our little way, yeah, we are trying to contribute towards bringing some order back to this chaotic world. Right? I mean, to try and at least stem or turn the tide, which is currently raging against God's plan for marriage and family, and to prevent this world from becoming a culture of death. And we thought with all this abortion, contraceptives, euthanasia, all focus on all these. In fact, I get a bit worried for the US when Kamala Harris, the moment she said she was given the thing, she given the possible nomination, and she said the first thing she would do would be to increase access to abortion. Anyway, politics aside, so that hopefully that we can hopefully leave our children a better world to inherit. And we raise them ready to start families of their own that will make a positive impact in this world. And we raise them to see life as a wonderful gift. Yeah. And like like in our own case, even when God gives you a child with special needs, to be able to recognize the good that brings with it, and the additional trials and tribulations and contradictions, but with that, a wider path to sanctity. And it gives us a precious opportunity to give testimony and witness to a strong culture of life.
And speaking of testimony and wider path to sanctity, a strong prayer life, right, in the family as well, not just personally. And that has been, I think, one of our strongest pillars of family life, that our family, prayer life has been our refuge and our hope, really, in and through everything. Not just a child with special needs, but also being out of work at critical periods of our marriage, and a parent with, Mark's mom had cancer and my mom had dementia with stroke. She was bedridden. Yeah, everything. Challenges, right, in normal everyday life of everyday family. So a spirit of prayerfulness and also to build family unity, I think, is one of the last things that we wanted to share with you, that till today and from young, we've always tried to help our children to understand why it's important to pray together, to attend mass together. And so even though our children are grown up, they have jobs and married, everybody tries to make time to try to attend mass together, at least on Sundays and on feast days, and also to come home for family lunch or dinner at least once a week, whether it's Saturday or Sunday, we agree. And even the ones who are based overseas, when they're traveling, they call home. They call home and the family is gathered together, so that there's always a sense of unity, a sense of being there for each other, being present, and never out of sight, out of mind. So yeah, we just thought we'd share. We hope it's been helpful, and really, we hope that you will appreciate the full power of the gift of life that is placed in your hands, through each and every one of your children. If you have children, if you don't, then I'm sure you can be really a great blessing for families who have children, and you can share with them as well whatever we have shared. And truly, we wish you all the best in your great adventures with the amazing miracles that God has given you. And remember to enjoy them. It is worthwhile. Thank you. Thank you for listening.
Wonderful. Thank you, Monica and Mark. This is a beautiful story of your life. I mean, this is the real school of life, actually. If you were going to that school, and both of you are already reaching the PhD of this experiencing raising 7 wonderful, beautiful children. And not only that, I think you also, with all these miscarriages that you experienced, you not only gave birth children to this world, but also surely give born to children in heaven with those unborn children that you experience. So, yes.
No, thank you. I was going to say thank you.
This I there's one that really struck me is the example of setting the boundaries that you mentioned about, a couple of kids playing soccer in the hill, and then you have to set the boundaries when it's night, and the children knows that there are boundaries, so they can be more happier and kicking the ball stronger because there's always boundaries. So I remember the one of the book that I read also, and my wife read, is also written by uh, Jason Everest, and mentioning that, you parent has to also balance between giving freedom and also to exercise your authority, not being authoritarian, but clearly to exercise your authority as a parent. Because maybe when you say you tell the children and get angry to your children in a nice way, your children might get disappointed. My children might, I'm not in charge for my life. You don't give me freedom. But he said that in 10 years, 15 years, they will realize that what you said as a parent is really useful for them. So, and then also, I think before I open to the Q&A for all other participants, also that we should not underestimate the influence of the environment right now with all the social media that we have. The long distance parenting is a challenging right now, especially for parents who send their children abroad and to further study. And they get all the influence of this, well, Mark mentioned about what happened in the US and other part of the world in Europe, to the point that sometimes, these kids of ours that study abroad thinks that those are the normal things right now. So being parents, with long distance parenting is also another challenge. As what I also experience with my wife right now. I would like to open this the next 15 to 20 minutes. If any one of you have questions or comments or inputs or sharing your own story also, please feel free to unmute yourself, or you can also write in the chat. I think we have something in the chat here, if I can read for you. Not too sure if you, let me see if there is something. No question on the chat. Anyone want to raise any questions? This is a good time.
And happy to hear your stories too. We want to learn. Remember, we said we're still learning. So we'd love to learn from so many of you. I'm sure all of you also are very experienced. And, I think that's been the best part of our journey, that how we've grown is actually learning from so many other couples who are, journeying with us.
Yes. And I think one of the way to teach our children also to live our good example as parents, right? We let the children see in ourselves how we love each other as husband and wife, how we also sometimes quarrel, but we go back also to say sorry. I remember that Pope Francis always mentioned to say there's three magic words: sorry, please, and I love you, or whatever. So that's very important. I think you mentioned also very important here, Monica, that we raise a dog, huh? But even more than that, we are trying to raise good parents in the future, and those children who are called to get married, hopefully to be a good parents, maybe better than ourselves as parents. So that's a very important project. So anyone in the any questions so far? Here we have a question. Yes, please.
Yes. Hi, Monica. So thank you again. I knew it's going to be this good. So, yeah. It related with what you mentioned about boundaries. I think I would like your advice, your opinion is that, as that our kids is also, transitioning from the childhood to become teenagers. So when they were young, right, until they're about 10 years old, you feel that they need you, right? I mean, you feel that they always ask for something, but they come to a period where they don't need you anymore. That means that they can do anything by themselves. Is it a normal thing? I mean, that transition is never easy for me. And I thought I'm the only hero that you need, no? But there comes a point and it's no more. So how do you also experience that? I mean, how do you navigate this situation? Thank you, Mark
Yeah.
and Monica.
Thank you, Edward, for your question. No, it's true. It is normal, very normal. That is
Okay.
part of
Good
their
to know
development.
that. Good to know
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
We should, I hope all parents, we get to see that, right? Because that they
Mhm.
don't cling on to us. It's us
Yes.
parents actually who find it difficult to let go.
Yes. Yes.
I've had moms
Yes.
who, their little ones, they're preschoolers. First day,
Yes.
the little 2-year-old is so happy to walk in, and the child is like, doesn't even want to say goodbye to the parent, just happy going in. And the mom is like, oh, but how about my kiss? Yeah, I think we parents need to realize.
It's harder is when they grow mature, like going to teenager, they get stronger physically and they're more knowledgeable in different ways. And
But
I
I want
mean,
to just,
you feel, being unneeded anymore, no? So that is kind of painful, and that sometimes trigger anger.
yeah,
It can lead to that, so it's a struggle for me.
it's true. It's true. I just want to encourage you, though, that what is also true, that's why understanding development is so important.
Okay.
They reach different ages and stages where it's a push me, pull me stage.
Yes,
I
yes,
think you see,
exactly.
right?
Yeah,
They like
yeah,
don't
yeah.
want you, but at the same time, they do want you. And
Playing hard to get. Yes,
that's
yes,
right. And it
yeah.
is, in a way, we just have to hold steady as long as they
Okay.
know that we love them and they can come
Yeah.
to us anytime for anything, anything. Nothing is
Okay.
taboo to talk about, and
Yeah.
just be
Yeah.
there, be around. They'll
I
come to
see.
you when they need you. And our kids, yeah, like our sons, when they're so close to us at first, and of course,
Yeah.
then the stage when even in church, the sign of peace, wow, they don't even want to hug you. They don't even let you touch
Exactly.
there.
Yes, yes, yes. Yes.
But they
You should be
outgrow.
grateful they want to sit next to you.
Yeah, yeah. But they do outgrow
Yeah.
as they grow older
I see.
beyond that stage. So you can see, hang in there, hang in there.
Okay, okay, got it. Thanks for the encouragement, Monica. Yeah, yeah.
Many
Thank
years
you,
ago,
Edward. Mark, please.
many years ago, I read I read this in Reader's Digest. There's
Yeah.
3 stages in a man's life. He starts off with my dad can beat your dad. So that's the hero. That's the one that where you think that they need you and they think highly of you. Then they reach the teenagers where they say, "Oh, dad, you don't understand." But
That's a good one. That's a good one.
eventually they come back to this, my dad used to say, so when they grow older and they
I
realize the wisdom of that, dad used to say, and especially when they become parents themselves now. And we are we
I
are
see. I see.
we are seeing that now. We're seeing that now,
I
especially
see.
some of our kids are getting
I
older,
see.
and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
what helps is that, yes, exactly that. I mean, you feel this loss of control,
Yes,
but
exactly. Yes.
for for us, it's like now they know. In the past, we knew everything, and everything
Yes.
we knew more than them, right? But now there are a lot more things they know more than us,
Yeah.
and if we
Yes.
go to them for advice instead.
Yes.
So
Yes.
what then? So the balance shifts, and what then happens now is they have for our, in our, but I can speak only for our personal case, right? Is that their respect and love for us is the one that carries it through, and no longer that idol worshiping. Because I mean,
Okay.
they see mom and dad's fault for very clearly now, but they can see past that, and then their love and respect for us carries that through, and
I see. I see.
that is very useful. Yeah.
I see. I
All
see.
right. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much,
Thank you.
Edward.
Yes. Yes.
Edward from Japan, many of you living in
Yeah.
Japan. We
Yeah.
now move to India. We have a participant from India in the chat, Michelle, asking, very inspiring story. I'm Michelle from India. I have 3 kids. I'm really struggling with gift of life, especially because I'm working and it is difficult to manage 3 kids. I get scared about how will I manage more kids if God wants it. I think this is common everywhere, especially for mothers, working mothers. So maybe you can advise.
Yeah, definitely, Michelle. I totally resonate, Every time I get pregnant again, I'm thinking, oh my, how will we manage, right? We receive with such joy and excitement, and also with that nervousness, right? A bit of that anxiety. But one thing we've learned is that the Lord who provides, if He gives you a child, He doesn't ever leave you without in ways that we never expected, actually. So, there's a Spanish saying, I think, I don't know how you say it in Spanish, but it's like, with every child, comes a loaf of bread under their arm, meaning that really God provides, right? And it's that grace of office, like we shared earlier, that, before we actually are in that situation, of course, we don't have the grace yet. And so, yeah, it seems scary. But when you're actually in that situation, God gives the grace. And I think that is something that we have definitely experienced. And and that, I don't know how your relationship is with your husband, but definitely that has been one of the pillars, right? In that sense, that try to, with your husband, have the conversations and support each other in as many ways as you can. How about this is a mom.
Yes, I fully agree. Yes, I fully agree, Monica. I think it reminds me also in my own experience, because regardless whether you have 7 children, 9 children, 3 kids, or even one kid like what I have right now, they have all different challenges. But I think God do wonders. God does wonder. It's really amazing. Even if you have one kid, there's a lot of miracles happening every day in your parenting. So I think the important thing is just to keep us connected with God and also connected with our spouse. And that will make our relationship with our children, regardless how many children you have, much more easier. And it's just like with shit, you say God always provide. No? So just be faithful on that. So yeah, Michelle, I hope this answer your question. If you probably have follow up, you feel free to unmute yourself.
And I was saying, one thing we learned is we have to be humble, be afraid to ask for help.
Yes, thank you so much. This is something, I've been really struggling with, because I'm a doctor here in India. Plus, in our country, we have the norms of only having 1 or 2 child. So, when I conceived my third child, that was the time when I think 80% of people told me to go for an abortion or something like that. But I said, no, abortion is not an option for me, because I'm too open to life, and I have to give birth to the child. And I, I think I used to get scolded by every doctor also, because, as you said about amniocentesis, I never went for any ultrasound, nothing, because I knew that if it is God's will, I will be bearing the children, and I would give birth to them no matter what. So now that I'm open to life, so I really get scared, like, for fourth child, what will happen, because the government over here is also not very friendly to large families. So there are many rules and regulations who want to have more children. So I don't have time also much. So I have a sense of guiltiness also, that I don't give time to children as much I want to give each one of them. And I get scared that if the fourth one comes, how will I manage my time? Whether I'll have to leave my job and be full-time homemaker, housewife, something like that. So that is what scares me,
Yeah.
somehow like losing my identity or something like that.
If I can just add, right, I think your for us, right, what we realized was that actually when we had more kids, it actually became easier, right? Because when they were especially when they're small and they're only very few, you and your husband and their father, right? The mother and the father are the entire world, right? So it's everything: mother this, mommy this, daddy that, and daddy this, mommy that, right? So they're very demanding on your time. But when you had more, they had each other. Again, I mean, like I'm speaking strictly from my own personal experience. They had each other, and they needed us less, And what really helped was that when we had when the more we had right now, the older ones started looking after the younger ones. I mean, they will teach them, help them with their schoolwork, even counsel them in their relationships, in how, and I remember when my my second son was going to secondary school, and the oldest boy, he almost made him late for school, the first day of school, because he was teaching him how to defend himself. To say, if anybody tries to beat you up, or this is what you do, right? But that's the reality, is that they if they're close enough, right, they look after each other, and then there's so much less so-called demands on your personal individual time, and they don't have to have the best of everything.
But Michelle, I totally can resonate with you again, and I feel you. I will pray for you for sure. But take one day at a time, really. Our imagination can, take us forward, right? And then we get worried. But I think take one day at a time. We did go through different stages where I was working and then I had to stop and be at home with the kids. And then I went back to work again. So just different seasons. But just as long as you and your husband are, really praying about it and stand united on it, then you take those decisions as each situation arises in your family life.
Very nice. Thank you. I think it's very important to take 1 minute at a time, 1 hour at a time, 1 day at a time. To be very patient in parenting is very important. Thank you, Monica. We have a couple of questions here. It's a question about what strategies would you advise to parents, especially if one parent is working overseas and the other parent, in this case, the mother, is left back at home to take care of 3 teenage girls?
Yeah. So, HP, thank you for the question. Is daddy away for like long periods of time and not possible to be together some of the time? I'm thinking this might be the situation. Like they are based in a different country, Yeah. So
migrant worker or something like that, yeah.
Yeah, it's difficult. I'm sure it's difficult, gosh. But I think with the wonders of technology, thankfully, that we can still stay in touch, like now all of you are so many miles, thousands of miles away, but we kind of still feel like as if, I know it's not the same as a physical presence, but I think, yeah, we just, again, the same, no, to make the best of the situation in the best way that you can. And I think it helps when mom keeps dad updated about the lives of the girls, and to have them your girls to write and be very much in communication with dad as well. And I'm not sure if you have a practice of where dad can at least call home every day or as often as he can in a week, something like that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think that's a very nice. So I would also share that this is one of the things that how we can use technology in a proper way to the benefit of good parenting. I think with the Zoom, with WhatsApp, all this, we can always be in touch. Sometimes we can also pray together in the Zooms. Put aside a certain period of time each week, pray together. Sometime in the meal time, maybe dad is in the other time zone, the family on the other time zone, but we can agree in the okay, when you take meal, let's have a Zoom, we have a team meal. So meal together we can still have a meal together in dining table, but through the this technology. So that thing, the important thing is to stay connected. No? It's a very important to stay connected, even though we are not present physically.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
So very nice. So I hope this answered question for HP. There's another question here. I only have one child, daughter. How to raise now, teenager, without spoil her. I do everything for her, including taking her to school and all other activities. I feel that she cannot do anything properly. is it wise to send her overseas to study at grade 11? What do you think?
Grade 11 is how old again? How many years do you have? Like she's now a
Grade
teenager.
11 will probably be about
So
17, 18.
a year before high school graduate, no?
17 years old, is that
Maybe
it?
15, 14.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the first things I would like to say is that as parents, it is important that we believe in our children. We do have to believe. Except, when I was talking about boundaries, it's also about the boundary of expectation. And to set an expectation that we would like for them to be able to take care of themselves, right? All their self-help skills and all these things, and to share with them why it's important. But of course, don't just leave them, like they don't know yet. So then teach them, right? And enjoy exploring some recipes together.
Allow them to make mistakes.
Yeah. And teach them how to take the transport on their own, unless they have some kind of a disability, like special needs, like Marie. She definitely wants to take the bus on her own. She's already left the house several times and taken the bus and gone off or walked. She even tried to walk to my mom's house, which is a few kilometers away, because she wanted to go swimming and she knew the way. But it's important that we actually do try to already train them and to believe in them. But before we send them overseas, I think to kind of not prepare and then to just launch them overseas could really rock their world. No, I think it's a little bit yeah, it's a bit too big of a jump for me, at least. I think it's a bit too big of a jump to just do that. We always need to scaffold, no matter what age of our children and whatever we're trying to teach them to do. We scaffold. We come alongside them. We show by example. We give them practice, like James Senton said, and then we explain why, and then we launch.
You say that you feel that she can't do anything properly, right? Could that be because she hasn't had much of a chance to practice right now? Because if you've done everything for her, she may not have had that opportunity to practice right now. So in which case, then when she tries, then she won't do so well. So maybe one way you can do is to allow her to try and allow her to fail. And so you temper expectations that it doesn't have to always be done perfectly. But each time she does it, she fails, or each time she does it wrongly, or then correct and guide her. Eventually I think she will get there.
But also to be encouraging, no?
Yeah.
I think sometimes as moms, I know I'm guilty of it myself. I set very high expectations that can be a bit unrealistic. I mean,
Even for me.
Yeah, like we know we can do things well because we've done it, so many times, right? But it's different for our children. They're just learning, just practicing. So yeah, to kind of temper our own expectations, but to encourage them and to we don't just say good job, right? It doesn't mean anything, but tell them exactly what we liked about what they did and what was it specifically that they did well, etc. I don't know. Is that helpful, Linda? Anyway, feel free to reach out and sometimes it's very situational, right? So it might need a bit more time, but I think, yeah, at least for today, if we can say that.
Yeah, thank you. We have a comment here. Lesson learned from today's teaching will help me in raising my 5 gifts of life. I believe God will walk with us in the journey. I think the key word here is God. No? So I think it's very important to always involve Him in our family life. And we have another question here from Harry, my wife, who is also online. How to protect a son or daughter studying university in Europe from the very permissive environment there and the norms practiced by the youth that go against good morals?
Yeah, we're almost gonna be in that same situation. One of our children is getting ready and might very well be going overseas to study. The books that I shared, I think one of the things is really that we ourselves need to arm ourselves. Like we need to know and we need to understand and have the language to enter into conversations with our children. So, if you can have conversation with your child um about your values and like I say, truths and untruths and what standards, what morals, what expectations, it is gonna help very much. But the two books that I showed just now, Made This Way, yeah, this one. I say this is an excellent, excellent book. To me, it's almost like every parent should have it. I can just share it later with Stefan, and then you can share with the rest. It talks about how to prepare kids to face today's tough moral issues. Written by Lila Miller, a mother of 8. She's more children than us. And Trent Horn. So he's an apologetic, a convert, but wonderful. They say it in such clear, practical, easy to understand language that even our young ones, so you read it yourself and then you can give it to your child and then you can have your discussions as well or read it together. I hope it's helpful, Chari. Anyway, now you know my number. You can always go.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much, everyone. If there are no more questions, either in chat or live, so probably we can end this series, this talk. It's 1 hour, 20 minutes now. It seems to be only very short time. It's a very interesting story that we need more times to talk about it. I know you have your more than 20 years experience in raising your children and also providing courses to other parents. You have many, many, things that you can share with us. So I hope this will not be the first and the last. I hope you can still accept my invitation, our invitation in the futures. Maybe we can talk other topics. The topics about boundary is very interesting, Mark. Yeah, so we hope to have you again in our future talks. So I would like, on behalf of the other participants, we have around probably we have two WhatsApp group right now. One is more than 1,000 and another one close to probably 150 and keep on growing every day. I encourage everyone who participate here to do a very, good, invitations to other friends or family members, just like what Mark and Monica do here in their own capacity to help other parents. So we can also help our friends, our family members to understand about these issues, better understanding about the issue and the challenging and how to solve the problem of this life, love, marriage in this modern world. So with that, thank you again, Mark and Monica, for your time and for your sharing. Cheerful couples, wonderful family, and examples. You really give us very good lessons here. I myself learned a lot here in 1 hour, 20 minutes. I would like probably, with your permission later on, with your children permission, we want to post this if it is okay. Let me know so that others who are not able to attend this, there are many who cannot, and usually they send me a private message, give me the recording. So I hope they can also follow this this recorded series. So everyone, any final words, Mark and Monica, before we bid farewell?
We just want to thank all of you and thank you, Stefan and Chari, for doing such amazing work in allowing, this whole series to happen as well. And thank you all so much for the time and for listening. And we will keep you all in prayer. And yes, happy to reach out to us if you need and any help that we can render to you all. Feel free.
Thank you very much. And for those who are in attendance, we will have also one of the kid of Mark and Monica, who is a doctor, will also be one of the speakers, probably around September, October. We'll invite him. very successful doctors, and he is expert on contraceptive, if I'm not mistaken, talking about the truth about contraceptive. Probably many of us also wants to know more. We know that we learned from Dr. Njoki Fernandez on the last talk about a little bit about this contraceptive. Next month, we will have another interesting topic. Hopefully, towards the end of August, we'll have a couple from the Philippines who will, an expert on natural family plannings, will share with us about their knowledge on billing ovulation methods. So for those of us who wants to know about natural family planning, this is a very nice segue to what we have learned from Mark and Monica to have more children, more blessings in their family. Again, thank you so much. So have a good day. Enjoy your rest of Sunday from everyone, wherever you are. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Welcome, most welcome. So nice to meet you.